Hello friend, I want to tell you about the Renault Koleos car. The Renault Koleos is a strange car because, although it's sold under a French brand, it has Japanese technology in its chassis and was manufactured in South Korea. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Is the Koleos a tasty morsel on the used car market? The Renault Koleos is a mid-range SUV produced in South Korea at the Samsung factory since 2008. Based on technical solutions from the previous generation Nissan X-Trail. Stylistically, it does not resemble any Renault model at all. Its design is not consistent with other cars of the French company. It can be treated as a misfit, no less than the Renault Latitude. However, under the bodywork there are proven solutions from Renault, engine, and Nissan, floor pan and drivetrain. In a sense, it is a technical twin of the X-Trail, which is good news for those wondering about access to service and spare parts. The power is transferred to the ground by a drive system with a rear axle connected via an electromagnetic multi-plate clutch. The driver can choose between 2 WD, auto or lock mode and changes them using a button on the dashboard. It is worth noting, however, that not all Koleos are equipped with 4x4 drive. The chassis consists of McPherson struts at the front and a multi-link suspension at the rear. Engines. The Koleos were mainly powered by the 2.0 DCI engine with 150 and 172 HP and 320 and 360 Nm of torque, respectively. This is of course the well-developed diesel unit with common rail injection, known from Laguna, among others, and significantly improved over the infamous 1.9 DCI. The second engine to choose from was a 2.5-liter, 170 bhp, 4-cylinder petrol engine, not very popular on the European market. We will of course focus on the diesel. What's broken? We'll start with the engine, because the abbreviation DCI or the combination of the words Renault and diesel makes some people shudder and feel uneasy. It's no wonder that cars of this brand are cheaper than their market rivals, but contrary to appearances, Koleos has not earned its bad reputation. The engine itself has a reputation among mechanics as one of the best in Renault's history and at the same time one of the most durable. It should be noted, however, that this is a very modern unit with intake channels of different shapes, piezo injectors, a water-cooled variable geometry turbocharger and, of course, a particulate filter. So, despite its reliability, potential repairs will be expensive. For example, replacing the DPF filter, dry type, although this is an element that will easily last 200,000 kilometers with proper use. And here the definition of proper use is key, because if it is maintained, there will be no problems with the injection system or turbocharging. Dual mass wheels could be more durable, but there are no major reservations either. In cars used off-road, for example in dug sand, it will wear out much faster, because the 2.0 DCI engine, despite good parameters, has a weak bottom for starting from a standstill. The EGR valve can also cause minor problems. It is also worth mentioning the crankshaft bearings. This is a problem known from the older 1.9 DCI engine or the smaller 1.5 DCI. But it also partially affects the 2.0 DCI, although to a much lesser extent. Regular engine oil changes are very important, with the frequency reduced by at least twice. Renault has adopted a mileage for the oil of 30,000 kilometers, which is neither common sense nor the art of car servicing. To enjoy durability of up to 400–500,000 kilometers, and such mileages are possible, you should change the oil every 10–15,000 kilometers and be sure to use low ash. Theoretically, you don't have to replace the timing chain, but in cars used mainly for short distances it can stretch. So at mileage above 150,000 kilometers or right after purchase it is worth having it inspected regularly. It's hard to complain about the rest of the car's components. The body is durable and doesn't corrode, just like the interior doesn't fall apart and stays fresh for quite a while. The suspension also turns out to be relatively durable, but a lot depends on how you use the Koleos. If someone treats it like a tough off-roader, They simply have to expect more frequent replacement of rubbers and shock absorbers. The rubbers and connectors are most often replaced, and best of all, the front wishbone rubbers and the ball joint can be replaced separately. There are hardly any transmission failures. You just have to watch out not to overheat it while driving off-road, although normally the clutch should disengage by itself. There are no problems with the gearboxes either. The electrics are above the average that Renault sticks to and can be considered reliable. The operating costs of a well-maintained car should not be high. The drive system is maintenance-free, as are the timing belt and particulate filter, in theory. Regular replacement of high-quality oil will cost a bit, but that's nothing if the engine rewards you with reliable operation. Koleos is not a popular car. It is not popular with thieves like X-Trail. The relationship with Nissan is another advantage. Thanks to this, the market for replacements is already good, and parts are growing. Especially since many parts also fit the very popular Qashqai. Overall, the car is reliable and operating costs are at a reasonable level. On the one hand, the Renault Koleos is a successful car, about which it is difficult to have major reservations, and its market prices are lower than those of its competitors. However, realistically, when looking for a Koleos with low mileage, with a documented history and relatively young, one must reckon with prices at the level of the Nissan X-Trail. If we assume that Koleos is worse than X-Trail, then we have to assume that it is a bit too expensive. However, it should not be ruled out as an alternative when looking for an SUV of this class without a clear preference. On the contrary, we should get rid of stereotypes and take it into account. Thanks for listening to me. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and rate my video. If you know of any problems with this car that I haven't mentioned, be sure to write about them in the comments.
I have good news for you. Now, if you are planning to buy a used car, or learn more about your car, you no longer need to search for the information you need on the internet. We have collected everything in one place for you, on the website carme.pro. Here you can find out everything about the car, what breaks and at what mileage, any problems with engines, chassis or gearboxes, which trim levels are better not to mess with, and how not to lose money buying a used car. You will learn all this on carme.pro.